And welcome everyone to this episode of the Real Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Edwards. Joining us today is Ned Tozun, the founder and CEO of d.light. Ned, thanks for being with us today.
Kevin, it's good to be here.
Of course. So a big theme of the conference this week is around regeneration and impact. What does impact mean to you?
Yeah, for me, I started out as an entrepreneur and I loved technology. I loved entrepreneurship, but I really wanted to find a way to leverage that for impact. So for me, really what that means is creating a transformation that's positive in someone's life. And the way we think about it with our products, so we sell products to customers. And we fundamentally want our product to create a transformation in the customer's life where there is a period before that customer has a product and there's a period after. And the difference between the before and after is an improvement in their quality of life. And that's how we think about it. And ultimately, that's how we think about creating impact in the world.
So creating something that wasn't there before or otherwise would cease to exist. What is the most important question that you want the world at large to hear from this gathering at the Impact Summit?
So to me, entrepreneurship and capitalism, these are such powerful forces in the world. And the question that I think about and that I want other people to think about is how to leverage those forces to actually create a transformational impact in the world. Not just for profit maximization, but how do we think about leveraging those forces to heal the planet and heal the world?
And explain to me, what is the difference between regeneration and impact? How do you see those two differentiating?
Well, I think impact-focused businesses and creating impact in the world is sort of what the organizations need to do or what they do in the world. Regeneration is almost like a mindset, the way I think about it. And when I think about d.light, for example, we're constantly reinventing ourselves because the world is changing, our customers' needs and preferences are changing, and we constantly need to regenerate ourselves and not assume that what worked for us in the past will work for us in the future. And when we talk to customers, like I always learn stuff from customers, and I've been doing this 15 years. We talk to customers, keep an open mind, and we learn new things from them every day because their world is changing, their needs are changing, and we have to be, have that open mindset and have that regenerative mindset in order to continue to thrive and grow.
And so you're based in Kenya, is that accurate?
So we have operations all over the world. Our headquarters is in Nairobi, but we have operations in India, in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Nigeria, China. So we're a very global organization, but I would say our center of gravity is in Kenya.
Tell me a little bit about the origin of d.light.
So we started about 15 years ago, and really the company was inspired when my business partner, Sam, was living in Benin. And he's an American guy like me, but grew up in India and in different parts of Africa. And when he was living in Benin, his neighbor's son was burned in a kerosene accident. So many, many people in the world, over 1 billion people, still use kerosene lamps for their source of lighting. And this neighbor of his, the son, knocked over the kerosene lamp, was completely burned, actually survived. But Sam kind of had this experience and realized, this is crazy. This is the 21st century. Surely people should be using better technologies. We can launch satellites into space and have mobile phones in our pocket. Why are so many people burning kerosene for lighting still? So, we got together, actually kind of joined forces at the design school at Stanford. That's where we incubated the business and got started. I really had this passion for entrepreneurship and tech, but I really wanted to leverage those things for creating an impact. So we combined forces, we started the company, and basically by the time we graduated, got a little bit of seed funding and then started initially with the idea to eradicate kerosene lamps for people without access to electricity. And we set a goal of reaching 100 million people by 2020 and getting 100 million people off of kerosene by 2020. And we've actually achieved that goal. We actually are at 127 million today. People off of kerosene and using d.light products. But also the mission has expanded because our customers' needs have expanded, kind of linking back to that regeneration question. Once customers get access to light, of course, that's not the end of the road. They want to be able to charge their phones. They want to be able to access the internet. They want to access news and information. So we've grown our product offering as well, offering bigger solar home systems, even things like TVs and smartphones and radios and fans, all those sorts of things to improve the customer's quality of life. And then on top of that, we've had to figure out how to offer financing to those customers because although they could afford those products over time, they couldn't afford them up front, and they weren't in the banking system. So we really had to figure out how to build these different kind of capabilities for ourselves as a business. So it's been a definite learning journey along the way, many mistakes, but that's how we've been able to kind of get to the stage we're at today. Because when you look at the initial business plan of the company from 15 years ago, it's just we couldn't have even imagined what the company is today and all the different kinds of things we're doing. We would have, our minds would have been blown had we been able to go to the future and see where we're at today.
Well, quite the experience.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're definitely taking the path less traveled. Many of the people here at the Mo Summit have a similar knack for doing something that's better for the world, not just themselves. What has your experience been so far at the Mo Summit?
It's been amazing just to be around other leaders who have that same sort of ethos and mindset. It's something that I find really rejuvenating to be around, and just you kind of like feed off of that energy with each of others who have that purpose-driven life. And it just, it's a way to kind of reconnect to that purpose and that energy. Because oftentimes in the day-to-day, we can just get caught up in sort of, for one thing, our own business and, have our blinders on. But just to see like what other kinds of areas of innovation people are kind of exploring and other areas of impact. To me, it's just very inspiring and sort of opens my mind. And to me, that's the best benefit of being together with these amazing other entrepreneurs.
A lot of the leaders here started as entrepreneurs, and as they've grown their organization, they've had to deal with people.
Yeah.
And that has its own challenges. What are some of the leadership lessons that you've taken away from your experience so far?
Yeah, I feel like this is an area where I've had to grow a lot because when we started out, my business partner and I, we were just so mission focused, so impact focused, that we didn't really think that much in a way about our employees, that we were actually growing like a team, and they had, and we had to figure out how to delight them as well, not just the customer. That wasn't really in our minds when we were that kind of scrappy team and starting out. And now we have 1,200 people as full-time employees. We have thousands of people out in these rural communities who are making their incomes with d.light on commission. So and when I go to some of these communities, like in rural Kenya, sometimes the first thing I hear is, thank you for creating employment. It's not about bringing energy, but thank you for creating employment in these communities. So it's something we've definitely had to learn over time. And I think there's a lot of different leadership lessons I figured out. I mean, for one thing, I could name probably dozens, but I think one I'll say as an entrepreneur sort of making that transition is you really have to reinvent yourself and your leadership style. Kind of the leadership characteristics that make an entrepreneur successful are not necessarily the same leadership characteristics that will make you successful of running a more complex organization with a lot more people. So having a team that you can delegate to, for example, not micromanaging, being able to kind of fly at the 30,000 foot level, but then going down to the 10 foot level when needed, but knowing kind of having the wisdom to know when to fly at what altitude, I think has been a real lesson for me. And I think as entrepreneurs, we can tend to always want to be at that 10 foot level because we know all the details and want to get into it. But when the organization gets too complex, operates in too many places, you just can't do that. And you'll limit your ability to scale if you try to always fly too close to the ground.
Do you have a specific leadership philosophy that you like to impose or install into your organization?
So, we really have, I think, a philosophy I would kind of characterize within d.light, not just myself, but is to really empower our leaders and kind of create empowerment all the way down the organization. We want ideas to bubble up from anywhere in the organization and create an environment where experimentation is okay. And we have, one of our values is innovation. So our values are encapsulated in this phrase, I hope. And I is innovation, H, honesty, O, optimism, P, passion, and E, empathy. So those are some of the character traits we want all of our employees to have and something we screen for. But kind of breeding that innovation, across the whole organization and having that meritocracy of ideas, I think is one key thing. And having, clear empowerment for local leadership, while also having sort of clear processes and frameworks for people to operate in has been sort of a key way for us to scale up. And I think it's really important to me that we have local leaders who really understand their local environments. That doesn't just mean, people from the, native to that country, but native to the counties and the regions we work in. Because if you take a country like Kenya, there's many different variations between the different the regions within Kenya and local adaptations. We need to have people on the ground who actually understand the dynamics of those areas, who can be empowered to customize as needed for their local areas.
Autonomy, decentralization, a lot of those come to mind. When you think about just for yourself personally, Ned, you talked about core values. What is the North Star for you? When you exit the organization, what is the legacy you'd like to leave?
To me, we want to see an organization that, one, makes an impact in reducing the inequality gap, and two, an organization that actually makes a dent in climate change. And we want to have that organization not be dependent on any one individual, but to just kind of continue scaling. And fundamentally, that as the organization creates economic value and delivers financial results, that's just intertwined and linked with creating those positive impacts. And when I say inequality, for us, the kinds of products that our customers are able to enjoy because d.light exists, they would not be able to have access to those technologies were it not for us. So it fundamentally reduces that inequality gap, because now our customers get access to things like internet and information and lighting for studying, and these kinds of things that they wouldn't have had access to before, but that really gives them opportunity in life that they wouldn't have had otherwise. And because we're doing this all powered through solar, renewable sources, this is fundamentally showing a way to create that development without destroying the environment. And in fact, it's actually replacing very dirty fuel sources, whether that's kerosene lanterns or diesel generators. Now these are replaced with solar solutions, and is actually showing, I think, the developed countries, a way for development to actually happen without needing to go through this very dirty cycle that actually the climate really can't sustain, bringing billions more people into the 21st century through the way that US and Europe did it. But there are better ways now with the technologies and renewable energy, and we want to be able to show a path for how to do that.
Ned, you have an inspiring story. I certainly love the incorporation of impact and how you're not just growing people, but you're transforming lives. Let's bring this home. What is your definition of a real leader?
To me, a real leader is someone who really understands their values and they're connected to their principles and their purpose, and they lead from that and not from the pressures that the world might put upon you, whether that's through maximizing your financial return in the short term or wanting to have status. But it's really kind of leading from that place of creating transformation ultimately for the people who work for you in your organization, and also for your customers and for the world more broadly. And that, to me, is someone who is embodying real leadership.
Fantastic. For Ned Tozun, I'm Kevin Edwards, asking you to go out there, lead with purpose, and always, folks, keep it real. Thanks, Ned. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Good work.